And welcome to the second season of Traitorous. I wasn't sure if I was going to do one of these spiels at the beginning of this because it is the second season of something, but I figured why not, just in case anyone is just seeing season 2 and clicking on, I might as well give my normal spiel and tell you about season 1 a little bit, just so that we're all on the same page. So if you have seen season 1, you can move on. If you've seen my series before and you know what I usually say at the top of these, you can also move on. But if this is your first time watching my channel and the first thing that you're seeing, hello, I'm so glad you decided to stop by. Before you watch this video, you might want to go check out season 1. I'll put a card up here. There's already a full first season of Traitorous. It's a fun Sims 4 machinima soap opera. There's a lot of drama and romance and intrigue and fun stuff happening, but a lot went on in season 1, so before you watch this season, you might want to go check that out and get all the context of what happened. Or at the very least, watch my season 1 recap video, which I'll put a card for here as well. That goes over, it's like 27 minutes long, and it's like a condensed version of everything that happened in season 1 that you need to know going into season 2, and like an overview of characters and such. I don't really baby you or give a ton of context as to what's happening in season 2. We just kind of jump into the drama because we got a lot to go through, and so it will definitely behoove you to at least watch the recap video so you know all of the people and all of the storylines going on getting into our second season. If this is the first thing you're clicking on of mine, though, I'm so excited that you decided to and that this sounds interesting to you, and so I hope you will enjoy all of season 1 if you go back and watch that first, or if you just want to go in wildly blind and see what's going on in season 2, I hope you enjoy the second season as well. Now for our normal bits. These are streams. These are not just YouTube videos that I'm filming in my free time and putting up. These are archives of streams that I do on Twitch. So sometimes I look over at chat. This series is not really much. I don't really pay attention to chat during the streams, but if there are alerts and stuff going off, these are archived from Twitch. If there are any cuts, it's just for commercial breaks, bathroom breaks, tech difficulties, etc. I promise that I'm not cutting out any of the actual action that you guys need to see. If you see a cut, it's arbitrary stuff that happened live but doesn't need to be in this archived version. If you are enjoying these, there is more Traitorous currently airing on my channel, twitch.tv/Rosina18, live every Friday night at 9. For this one, I'm deciding to actually put it up kind of in recent time. Before, like, the first season I put up a year after I actually streamed it. This time I'm going to really do my best to get episodes of season 2 up as soon as possible after the actual stream happened. So that way we're kind of doing it weekly on YouTube as well. If you want to watch back, you should be getting the version without any muted bits instead of having to watch the Twitch VOD, which might have some muted chunks. And you guys can stay up to date with it. And hopefully if you see it here, you know, you'll have an opportunity to come join us for the rest of the season live on Twitch as well if you're just catching it here and we're like halfway through or something. I am still in the process of archiving all the rest of my Friday series, so the uploads are going to end up being a little bit staggered, where Traitorous season 2 should be at some point every week before the next episode, and then I'll probably start getting Bachelorette uploaded whenever I can in between there as well, so those will be sprinkled in between. But I figured that maybe just kind of, now that I have Traitorous up to date on YouTube, I might as well stay up to date with it as long as my schedule allows me to. So I think that is all that I need to say. The first episode went pretty well. We haven't had too many tech difficulties so far. There's only been this first episode of Traitorous streamed so far anyways, and so I hope you enjoy. I hope if you were there at the live premiere, you enjoy looking back if you've clicked on here for that reason. If you are brand new here, welcome to Traitorous. I hope you enjoy, and I hope to see you live for the rest of them. And to just anyone here, thank you for being here and supporting this story and my projects as always. And yeah, let's get back into the drama. Here's the beginning of Traitorous season 2. I will see you guys later. Hello everyone, welcome. Oh my gosh, as always with new Friday series, especially scripted ones, I am incredibly excited and also incredibly nervous. So hello everyone, I hope you are also excited because yes, it is finally here. Traitorous season 2 is upon us. Last summer we started this venture in our very first Sims 4 soap opera, the first scripted series I tried to do. What did it start in May last year, I think, near the beginning of the pandemic and stuff, and we began Traitorous, and luckily you guys all really liked it, and have been eager for more ever since we ended last June, and now, a little over a year later, in June this year, we are headed back to the land of Traitorous to see where things have gone after all of the dramatic events that happened in the previous season. Also, I've been messing with my gain on my microphone while I was recording, the season 1 overview, which if you don't remember what happened in season 1 or you didn't see the first season but want to join us, I highly recommend going and watching that. It is like almost a half hour long, but a lot happened in season 1, but that covers like literally everything you need to know, everything that happened, and especially where we left off in the finale if you didn't have time to rewatch the entire first season, which is also available on YouTube, by the way, but that obviously takes a lot longer with each episode being like 1 to 2 hours. So, I skipped out getting drunk with a cute girl, so you know I'm invested. I'm honored, Jenna. I'm very glad. I'm very happy to see you here tonight. And, yeah, I'm trying to think if I have what I need to do, what I need to say before we get going here. I'm kind of hot, but I'm sacrificing air conditioning for you guys for the sound to be nice. But yeah, I was messing with the gain on my microphone while recording that, so let me know if I'm, like, too loud or quiet, and I'll adjust it a little bit, as we get going here. So yes, season 1 overview is on YouTube, as well as all of season 1 if you want to catch up on what happened. I'm probably not going to do a ton of recapping of where we're at when we get into this, just because we got a lot to get to, so I want to get to, you know, the events of season 2 and not dwell on the past. But we're, spoilers ahead, I guess, because we're just jumping right into things. I'm not holding back on stuff if you haven't seen season 1. So, yeah, if you're just joining us, beware of spoilers if you want to catch up on the first season. Also, hopefully you've seen this season 2 trailer. That's significantly shorter than all of the other things, of course, only a couple of minutes, but that was our first little look into what might be going on in the second season here. Might have been a couple little clues or, you know, at least themes there of what we might be doing in the second season here. This first episode is going to be just like the premiere of season 1. It's going to be a little bit more exposition-y, a little bit more like conversational than a ton of dramatic stuff going on, but don't worry, the drama will ramp up as we continue on in the season. I have a lot prepared for this second season here, so don't worry, we will get into some dramatic shit, of course, but this one's going to be a little bit more laid back because it has been a year since the last season. We are doing a year time jump, and so, you know, obviously everyone has been living their lives and carrying on after the events of the finale for a whole year. So we, you know, this is going to be mainly catching up on everyone, seeing where everyone's at, and setting up the stage for all of the events to happen. I got my fancy glass out for my water, of course. Okay, I think that is mainly all. Oh, if you're just joining us too, for scripted series, I don't really look at chat during this. It's like these are really special streams. My Friday streams are always more special than my other ones, but when we're doing reality shows, it's still pretty interactive. You know, like I hang out with you guys, read, catch up on what you're saying. Since this is a soap opera, it's a scripted show that I figure out the whole story beforehand, and I have like a whole script written for myself. When we're doing scenes, I'm just paying attention to my script, so that way we don't interrupt the flow of the story, and I'm just going through the scenes with you guys. I will get caught up on chat during the commercial breaks, though, and respond when I can while the game is loading and such. We will have a handful of commercial breaks tonight as I get things set up. Hopefully, if Sims is cooperating, they won't be too long. I have updated my Sims game. It seems to be running okay, but I've not, like, played a ton in it. I've mainly been, like, building and doing cast stuff, so I don't know how smooth the game is running right now, but we will fingers crossed that Sims is behaving for our show tonight. And along with that, as always, since these are scripted things, these are not real actors, they're Sims. Sims can be wily sometimes. Pay more attention to the story I'm telling than what the Sims may be doing. I try and keep them on track as much as possible, but hey, sometimes things happen, Sims show up that I don't want to be there, or Sims go and do push-ups or something that I don't want them to do, and ruin the scene a little bit. But we'll roll with it and do the best that we can. Yeah, I think that's about it. My last thing I was gonna say is that I have just edited all of season 1 and put it on YouTube, of course, and in editing that, I was noticing how, I think season 1's really good. I really like season 1. I love this show. I adore all these characters, as you guys have fallen in love with them as well. I realized how awkward I was in season 1, though, so I'm going to try and be less awkward in this season. I have done another scripted series now called Sharpest Tool at the beginning of this year. That'll be on YouTube eventually when I get around to that. We got a couple other Friday series to archive first. But, yeah, I think I was just really nervous to do, like, a story for the first time, and so I'm gonna try and, I'm gonna put those nerves aside, and we're just gonna get into the story this time, and I'm gonna not be all, like, nervous or anxious about, like, acting and getting into the roles. That's what I'm gonna work on this season, because we got some intense stuff coming up, and I want to be able to convey that for you guys. So we're just gonna get into it, and I'm scripting it out a little bit more than I did in the first season. The first season, I did a lot of, like, here's a paragraph of what happens, and I'll just kind of keep an eye and then improv it. I've really, like, scripted this season out a lot more because I realized during Sharpest Tool that works better for me to keep the flow of the scene up. So hopefully the acting and, like, drama will be even more there for our second season. I say as I feel incredibly nervous to jump into this for the first time in a year. But alright, I will stop rambling at you guys now. I get a drink of water so my throat doesn't die. Let's go ahead and start the first episode of Traitorous Season 2, Episode 1, Rainfall. As always with Traitorous here, we begin our episodes with a little bit of a flashback. So at the end of last season, at the very last moment there of the Ritter Charity Gala, it turns out that the patriarchs of each family of the Clarks and the Winstons, Robert Winston and Justin Clarke, both keeled over and died at the exact same time. It's a bit of a gloomy and rainy day, as there's a long procession of cars for a funeral along the street here, as everyone has gathered at the Winston Manor because we have a funeral to attend. But this is not the funeral of Robert Winston, nor Justin Clarke. We are actually jumping back quite a few years to 1971, to the funeral of Robert Winston's father, Reginald Winston. As everyone is at the grave currently, things are kind of winding down as people are throwing handfuls of dirt on the grave. Things are winding down, and we see a somber and very young Juliette over here standing by herself without her husband by her side, as a very young Justin Clarke is going to walk up to her, though Juliette just paying him only a slight glance before scowling a little bit, unsure of why this man is here or why he is talking to her exactly, as he tosses a bit of a casual but emotionless "sorry for your loss" to her, Juliette just nodding but remaining silent in line to throw a handful of dirt on the grave as well. Justin continuing, though, going, "I see that scoundrel has abandoned you to grieve your father-in-law alone." As Juliette snaps back immediately, Robert had a rough relationship with his father, so he stepped away for most of it. More importantly, why are you here at all? Justin just replying to her with a bit of a smirk. What? I can't pay respects to my bitter rival? Juliette just glaring at him and going back to ignoring him once again, as she does see the jaunty smile out of the corner of her eye, letting her know that Justin definitely isn't really here to pay respects. This is all part of their weird conflict, the weird game that him and Robert have been playing for years at this point. As it seems like everyone is kind of rounding out the funeral portion and heading towards the house for the reception, which is getting started downstairs. You know, the caterers are laying out the food as everyone starts to make their way indoors, and we're gonna head upstairs first before we head to the activities, where Robert Winston has been for most of the time of the funeral here. As Juliette said, he has sort of stepped away. Give me just a moment to set this up. As Juliette has said, Robert has stepped away to go ahead and keep his presence away from the funeral most of the time, but rather than just simply wanting to avoid all of the, pleasantries for a man that he despised, he's actually upstairs getting into a little bit of a predicament himself. Not exactly up here, just to stay away from the funeral itself, but actually entangled with a woman who is very much not his wife, as Juliette is still downstairs. The two up here going ahead and just having made out in the bathroom for most of the funeral over here. Robert finally pulling away from her as he can hear, you know, more commotion downstairs, going ahead and pushing away from her and saying, all right, sounds like people are gathering. I better get back out there, going over to the mirror to kind of freshen up, straighten out his clothes, wipe any of the lipstick smeared on his face off, as the woman just rolls her eyes at Robert, saying, and you don't want to head out into the crowds along with me, as Robert steps away from her to the mirror going, Rhona, we've been over this. As Rhona goes ahead and says, yes, and I still don't understand why you want to stay with that insufferable prude. She looks like a wind could snap her in half. As Robert just kind of idly brushes her off, going, yes, but she is still my wife. Maybe a wife my father wanted for me, but my wife nonetheless. As Rhona just kind of frowns, going, you hated your father, though. Robert replying, oh, yeah, no, he was a prick. I'm glad to see him in the ground, but it's still the principle of things. Rhona's face softening just a little bit, and she says, but is that what you want? As Robert steps over to the woman, again, smiling slightly less soft and somber than Rhona, but smiling at her nonetheless as he wraps her up in a kiss once more. Shutting her up for the moment before he goes ahead and pulls away, simply saying, yes, but it wouldn't look very good to the public if I tossed my sweet, respectable bride for the secretary I'm fucking now, would it? As Robert turns to leave, starting to say something, as Rhona just interrupts him, frustrated, going, yeah, wait 5 minutes, I know. As Rhona looks upset with the man heading on downstairs, her face falling a little bit as she goes over to the mirror to freshen up herself, just kind of brushing that off, and instead of letting the sadness prevail, just kind of letting the anger settle in a little bit more, but trying to collect herself, making sure that she doesn't look too upset one way or the other as she goes ahead and heads downstairs. So the the reception is starting to get into full swing here. I've not invited any other Sims just to keep this a little bit easier to manage and make sure the Sims doesn't crash, but we will just, you know, pretend that there's plenty of other Sims here, you know, staff that is laying out food, and plenty of other friends and family of the Winstons paying their respects, of course. As Justin is just kind of still lingering around the funeral, but looking a little bit stoic in the corner over here with his arms crossed, not really paying much attention to things, as Robert has headed on downstairs to go join his wife Juliette over by the bar here. Rhona making her way downstairs eventually as well, and seeing Justin standing over here and deciding to head right on over to him, as he's mainly just kind of keeping an eye on his nemesis over there in the corner, not paying much mind to this other young woman who has walked up to him until she addresses him saying, "You're Justin Clarke, right?" Justin, a little bit startled, but replying, yes. As Rhona says, "You always root around in the candy bowl to find the red ones, even if there's only one left." Justin scowling at her before going, "Oh, are you the new secretary at the firm?" Rhona chuckling a little bit flirtily and just going, guilty, as Justin says, "Forgive me, my dear, what's your name again?" And she just laughs once more, going, "No worries, Rhona." Justin replying, "Rhona. Tell me, Rhona, what are you doing at the funeral for our co-worker's father?" As Rhona just adjusts her gloves, saying, "Oh, paying condolences on behalf of the boss. What are you doing here? As far as I know, you and Robert can't stand each other." As Justin just raises an eyebrow, saying, "And where did you hear that?" Rhona saying, "From your own mouths, of course. I can see a lot from that front desk." Justin laughing at that, kind of enjoying her snark, as he replies, "Well, you're not wrong. There's not a bone in my body that likes that man." Rhona following his gaze and looking over at Robert standing close, you know, pulling to Juliette into an embrace as Rhona, a scowl passes her face for a moment before putting back on her smile as Rhona says, why don't you tell me more over a drink? Rhona giving a flirty yet devious smile as Justin smiles back to her, finding this woman quite intriguing himself, offering an arm to her and leading her over to the bar to continue this conversation. So after that encounter, we're going to go ahead and leave the past there. As we get into our first scene in present time, so it is 2021, of course present time, as we are a year after the deaths of Robert Winston and Justin Clarke, of course, on another rainy day at the Winston Manor. As, of course, the house is a lot more full than it was back when we saw it in the past there. Now an urn for Robert Winston on the mantle of the fireplace. As in the kitchen, there is a bit of a conversation happening as both Robert II, the eldest son of the late Robert, of course, and his wife, Amy. Oh, hold on. You know what I just noticed? Flashback filter's still on. Hold on. Resume. As Robert II and Amy are over here at the kitchen table meeting with their financial advisor, lots of papers everywhere, as the financial advisor is saying to them they all look a little bit somber, even though we're kind of doing like general small talk chit chat, you know, but the financial advisor is saying, fortunately, even so, at the current trajectory of 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕠𝕠𝕦𝕤, you're certain to go bankrupt before you'll get out of the red. Robert II, looking upset as he's looked most of this meeting, but just sort of giving a huff of acknowledgement at her. The advisor saying, honestly, I'm surprised you've been able to stay afloat this long. You should feel lucky to have such a generous wife, she says with a little bit of a short laugh. Robert, just sort of looking at Amy briefly, who's just sort of staring at her hands in thought, as the financial advisor sort of flipping through papers and eventually asks Robert II, and all of your insurance money's gone? Yes. As Robert II starts to look a little more angry, saying, yeah, the measly amount I got was gone in the first few months, but yes, long gone now. As Amy seems a little bit nervous before just kind of biting the bullet and saying to them, oh my god, Sims, the flirting is off the charts, but oh my god, let's get them to be angry maybe. As Amy nervously starts to say, I have a pretty big case that should result in a large payout, but I'm still unsure of exactly when we'll see those results. I can at least keep the household running, but my busy season's ending, so I don't know if I can continue to front 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕠𝕦 costs as well anymore. Robert II's brow just kind of furrowing as their discussion continues on. Get rid of all these moodlets here, oh my god. There we go, get a little bit more upset and sad here. There we go. As before the financial advisor can respond, Robert II, just with his arms crossed, replies, it's fine, I'll figure it out. The financial advisor saying, there's still the matter of the house. Robert almost cutting her off and going, we're not selling the house. End of story. I'll figure something out. I always do. Are we done here then? The financial advisor doing one more cursory glance over the paperwork and starting to pack it up, saying, yeah, I think that should be all. Robert replying, wonderful, thank you, delightful visit, as always, as he abruptly gets up from the chair, heading over to the other side of the kitchen here, as Amy just kind of looks after him before saying, I'll walk you out. Amy getting up along with the financial advisor here and heading on over to the door with her. The advisor's still kind of gathering her papers together as Amy's sort of shaking her head and making sure when they're out of earshot of Robert, going ahead and saying, I'm sorry for him, as the advisor here is like, no worries, I understand. I have dealt with clients much more testy than him. It's difficult things to talk about, but you make sure you're taking care of yourself in this whole situation too, okay? As Amy just nods, throwing one more thank you at her as she finally leaves for the night. Amy releasing a deep sigh as her shoulders don't really untighten from the meeting, heading back into the kitchen where off to the side here Robert is pouring himself a glass. Oh, that's not actually a bar. As Robert is pouring himself a glass of wine over at the table, or over at the bar in the kitchen here. There's a lot of Sims wandering around. I apologize if any of them come in. I don't know if the doors are locked in this household. But Amy going ahead and going on over to him as oh yeah, the likes and dislikes update has come, and I haven't played around with it yet, and I've heard that the whole asking if Sims like or don't like things comes up a million times, so apologies if those update or those little pop-ups come up a bunch. We'll see how often we have to deal with that. As Amy just sighs again, walking over, seeing Robert starting to drink this wine, going, do you have to be snarky with her? Also, it's barely noon. Robert just kind of raising an eyebrow back at her and saying, perfect for wine with lunch then. Sorry. Amy looking at her watch and going, I have to get back to the office, but remember I have a client lunch at 3, so you'll have to pick up Chadwick after soccer today. As Robert just kind of huffs out a little bit of a tense laugh and saying, right, your big client. As Amy just snaps, going, Robert, don't. Robert going ahead and sitting on over at the table here without a meal to have the wine with, but, you know. Amy not really deciding to make a comment on it as she gathers up her own bag to go ahead and leave and head back to work for the day, saying to him before she leaves that you know, that financial advisor is right. I'm the only one keeping this family stable right now, and you should feel lucky to have a wife that's this generous. Still have a wife this generous after a year of being talked to like that. As Amy just shakes her head, grabbing her bag once and for all, and leaving to head back to work for the day, as Robert doesn't even pay her mind, saying another comment at her, but just sort of wincing at himself once she's out of the room, sort of kicking himself, but knowing that, not exactly knowing why he, you know, can't really stop himself from being so testy and angry these days with her, as his mother Juliette and his little son Tyler are entering the room here. Tyler will probably take another minute to waddle on over. Let's pretend Robert's still drinking the wine here as Juliette calls out to him, oh, hey, sweetie, are you all done with your meeting? Tyler running over immediately to come hug his father once he waddles his way in here. Robert just sighing and saying, yep, all done, as Juliette squints at the wine that's sitting in front of him, asking, have you had any food yet? Robert II just sort of sarcastically shaking the wine glass in her direction as Juliette sighs and just says, all right, I'll make you something. Robert paying her no mind either, just kind of focusing on his son, talking and playing with the kid over here. Let me get Juliette to go ahead and make them something for, oh, we'll call it lunch. Don't mind what time it is in the actual game here. Make a little salad for them for lunch, as she tries to continue to make small talk with her son here, asking, any better news today? As Robert lets out an even deeper sigh, going, not really. Juliette just kind of finishing up her food over here? Maybe, as Robert's just electing to not delve any deeper into the conversation with his mother, just playing with his son, hoping that that's gonna lift his spirits a little bit. Maybe. Or not. As Juliette finishes up making some salad over here. There we go. We'll let them play for a minute. This is the butler. He's got some, I don't know what's happening with the outfit, but we're just gonna ignore him. Looking a little annoyed at Juliette taking over the mantle of the kitchen as she's been wont to do these days, but, you know, he's still getting paid for doing hardly anything, so I don't know why he's complaining. As Juliette, she's gonna finish up making the food here and grab some plates for all three of them to take over to the table over here. Kind of taking a little bit of a look at any of the papers that were Robert's that are still left out sitting on the table here, as Juliette just kind of does like a quick scan of them, Robert not paying too much mind as he's still just sort of focused on Tyler. Juliette asking, are these the insurance reports from this year? Robert sort of startling at that, not really wanting her to see them, a little bit embarrassed of how many negative marks are on them, but replying, yeah, realizing that it's a little bit fruitless to try and keep her from looking. You know, he knows his mother's a quick reader, and even a cursory glance, she's already seen what she needs to. As she chuckles a little bit, saying, father had similar numbers the first few years of Insurzo, but everything eventually turned around, as Roberts narkily replies back to her, yes, but you told me that was all you're doing, wasn't it? As Juliette says, granted, I did help quite a bit in the first few years, but your father gave you the company for a reason, okay? I know you'll make the right decisions to get Insurzo back to its former glory. As he doesn't really reply, simply sighing and sitting down to eat. Little hug, sure. As Juliette, finally getting the hint that Robert doesn't super want to talk about this, changing the topic and asking, where's your sister? As Robert says, not sure. She went on a walk around when the advisor got here, but I haven't seen her since. Juliette's brow starting to furrow a little bit in worry as she muses, oh God, I hope she's all right, as Robert II replies, I'm sure she's fine, Mom. She's been doing much better these days. You can't worry about her every time she decides to get some fresh air. She's actually doing it out in the world these days instead of only near Annabelle's grave, so I wouldn't complain about her frequent absences. Juliette replying, no, you're right. I know how much losing Robert rocked me, and I can't imagine what's been truly going through her head after losing her father before not even getting over the grief of losing her daughter and her husband abandoning her on top of it all. Robert letting out a bit of a tight laugh at that, muttering under his breath, yeah, I'm sure that's why she's not happy these days anyways. Mumbling through his food, his mother not really quite catching what he said, as we'll leave them there to have their little bit of lunch here and head outside. You know what, let me fast forward a bit so it's a bit later out in the game, since it is barely noon in our story here. The rain's starting to clear up a little bit, but ducking out of the rain from where they were having a picnic on the beach, just kind of ducking under an underpass to escape the downpour that suddenly was upon them, is in fact said sister Julia Winston, but instead of usually spending her days out alone, the past year or so, she has been spending them with a very special someone, that being Madison, or rather, as we found out at the end of last season, Annabelle. And it's, you know what, the camera's not going to let me under there, so let's just we'll let the rain clear up so they can come out of the underpass a little bit so the camera doesn't freak out. And let me also try and get it to be a little bit brighter out, as we see that Julia is definitely doing a bit better than she was last time we saw her. Some of her dark circles have cleared up. She's still, you know, a little bit somber most days. She's got a lot going on in her head still, but doesn't quite look as ragged and distraught most of the time. There we go. Let me get them into a conversation here. as they've just been kind of chilling, having a picnic, and Julia is helping Madison with her homework right now, you know, just kind of helping along with the kids' homework, like, carry the 5, and yeah, you got it. Madison is saying, you're really good at this stuff. Julia sort of replying more jokily than she's really, you know, said anything in the in a long time, but she has been improving quite a bit over this past year. Okay, I mean, I did go to college after all. Madison kind of chuckling at that too, and before being able to really catch herself saying, why didn't you do anything with that degree then? As Julia's face falls a little bit, Maddie realizing and going, oh, sorry. Julia saying, no, that's fine. It's complicated. I fell in love with Terrence, and then soon after I had you, and, you know, I just didn't really have time for all the goals I put in place, and then when I thought I'd lost you, I never really got back on my feet. Maddie sort of replying, but you have me back now. Julia sort of sighing and taking a long moment to look at the daughter that she's been slowly getting to know over the past year for the first time in 13 years, and saying, yeah, I guess you're right. And we will, you know, we will leave them there. Just a brief little sweet moment between the two of them. Oh, sweet moment, actors, between the two of them. Not much going on there, but we will leave them to continue to bond as they have been for the past year or so. A deadass just deleted Julia Winston trying to come up to the, or sorry, not Julia Winston. The fuck is her name? Oh my god, I can't remember her name now. Judith Ward, the annoying Get Famous lady, trying to come up to the front door, because I'm like, no, not right now. I'm not dealing with trespassers on this property. So Judith Ward does not exist in the Traitorous universe anymore. But anyways, we travel on over to, Cynthia's not unmuted. We travel over a bit further away than we usually go in Traitorous, as someone at the end of the last season was moving a little bit away from the... Oh my god, she's back! Help! Absolutely not. Okay. As we travel a bit further away, since someone was moving away from the usual neighborhoods that the families live in at the end of last season, catching up with, of course, lovely Rosalee Winston in her new home, a little bit more into the city here, as she's... Oh, head on through the window as she's cuddling and taking care of her very recently born little baby here, of course, that she's absolutely in love with in the little nursery, just taking care of the kid, waiting around as we'll get someone here to run on up the stairs, as she does hear the little front door open downstairs, but hearing a male voice call out a hello from downstairs, Rosie smiling and just tossing it, oh, we're upstairs, on down, hoping that her visitor has heard her, still just kind of rocking and taking care of the little baby here, as her dad, Brent, who is looking a lot more cleaned up these days, doing a lot better, goes ahead and enters the room here. We'll let him come give... Oh, our dog. Oh, I forgot our dog's name. What is her dog's name? I'm so sorry. Bandit. As Bandit is joining us here, and I'm gonna have a conniption. Go. Permanently delete. Thank you. As Brent smiles wide, saying, "Hey, sweetie," as he wraps Rosie up in a big hug, of course. Rosalie smiling as Brent heads over to the little bassinet here. Doing a little coo, will actually coo at the little baby over here, saying, and hello to you too, Daisy, cooing and cuddling the little infant as he starts to sort of ramble and saying, God, I'm so sorry that I'm like a little bit late. I had to pick up my car from the shop, and Jacob needed to drive me, but he ended up getting late out of a meeting, and Rosie just laughing and saying, Dad, it's okay. You're barely 10 minutes later than you said you'd be. I promise it's fine. You are here at all, and that's a huge improvement, so you don't have to grovel anytime you're a little bit tardy, I swear. Just sort of sharing a sweet look between them. as Brent just sort of relents, going, okay, alright, okay. Rosie saying, oh, seriously, thank you for watching her tonight on such short notice. I wouldn't normally pick up a shift this last minute, but the birthday gala I was providing flowers for this weekend got canceled, and so the extra hours are really going to help me pay bills next week. As Brent says, you know, you don't have to bust your ass at that stupid coffee joint if things are that bad. You know your grandmother would help when it came down to it. Rosalee going, it's fine, I don't want Winston pity money. Brent's saying, or, you know, I could, her cutting her dad off before he can finish, saying, no, Dad, I know how much in that inheritance money, no matter how small of a chunk, has been giving you a safety blanket while you recover. Do not spend a cent on me. I'm fine, I promise. Especially with so many wonderful people happy to watch this angel whenever I need, as I guess, oh, she's fallen asleep, there we go. Brent kind of relenting that point as well, going, alright, Rosalee checking the time really quick and saying, okay, I really have to get ready and get going now. You're all good until 7. Brent replying, oh, yeah, no, this one and I have a Fast and Furious marathon to attend to, so we'll be fine. Rosie just sort of laughing and going, alright, you're lucky she's too young to remember that crap, so I don't stop you. Okay, I will see you later, I love you. Wrapping her father up in a hug once again as she goes ahead and gets ready for work. Brent just chuckling and, you know, kissing her on the cheek, saying, yes, love you too, as Rosalee goes ahead and heads on out of the nursery here to get ready. We return to Northridge Academy, Northridge High, I don't remember what I was calling it, but the school that Samantha and formerly Maxwell went to, as Samantha is a senior now, but her boyfriend is a year older than her, so he graduated last year in college now, but Maxwell has actually appeared just outside the prestigious academy here. Samantha getting a text to come out front, running out and seeing her boyfriend, a smile immediately crossing her face, running out and jumping into his arms, screaming, Max! As he says, oh, I don't know what's happening in The Sims there, but as he, you know, replies, hey baby, let's have her, you know, we'll have him even, like, tell her to, oh, he'll jump into her arms. I was gonna do it the other way, but that works. As they're all over each other to the chorus of some gagging sounds in the background, as unfortunately Maxwell's twin brother Dylan is standing over here too, looking disgruntled as always, the two parting a little bit as Dylan just asks, is there anywhere to grab coffee around here? Samantha just rolling her eyes at him and pointing over to a little coffee stall a little bit away from the high school campus over there. Dylan just rolling his eyes at those two and stomping away as Max says to Samantha, sorry about him. Sam rolling her eyes again and saying, why is he here exactly? As Max says, well, he's telling everyone it's because his bike broke down and needs a ride, but really, he broke parole last week and Mom's covering for him, but told him he has to be under 24/7 surveillance for the next 2 weeks, but she has other plans today, so lucky me who gets to tag along with him everywhere. Samantha sympathizing with it. Ugh, sorry, but enough about him. What are you doing here? Max replying, my afternoon class got canceled and I knew you were on lunch right now, so I decided to swing by and say hi. Samantha excitedly hugging him again and replying, oh, thank you. I miss you so much. I feel like I never see you anymore. Max, well, replying, gosh, yeah, sorry about that. Everyone is right. Freshman year of college is no joke, and doing football at the collegiate level on top of my full class load, I have no free time anymore, but God, I miss you tons too, which is why I'm glad that I got a moment to see you today. Samantha saying, I understand, you know I have a packed schedule too. I'm very proud of you though, and I will take whatever small moments I can get with you. As Max goes ahead and hugs her tight again, thank you Sims, and apologizes once more, like in her ear softly while they're that close, and you will not be propositioned right now, we are at school. And in reply to his apologies, Samantha getting serious for a moment and saying, hey, it's okay, we've made it through more than we've made it through more stressful situations before and come out on top. So we can make it through a busy year of school, even if it sucks to rarely see each other. Maxwell's smiling again with a little blush on his cheeks and replying, yes, you're absolutely right, my sweet. Hey, speaking of time together, my mom is hosting a big family dinner or whatever next Saturday night to help blend the families, so would you be able to come? Samantha, thinking for a moment, going, I think so. I'll take a look at my schedule and get back to you. As far as I can think, though, it should work, as long as I'm invited. Maxwell furrowing his brow and replying, yeah, of course you're invited. Everyone's bringing their partners. It's kind of the point. Samantha thinking and, realization dawning on her, going, oh, yeah, right. Your mom's with that Clarke lady, right? Gosh, okay, blending families, right. Okay. Maxwell saying, yeah, but Lorena's really nice. I promise it'll be fine, even if you're the only Winston there. They're not like that. As Samantha still looks a little bit nervous, but the two holding hands for a moment as they do look over at Dylan at the coffee stand here. Give me 1 second. As they see Dylan over at the coffee stand talking to another one of Samantha's classmates and former friend, Quinn, talking to him over there as Maxwell sort of furrows his brow, noticing the flirty look on his brother's face and saying, all right, let me stop Dylan before he stabs one of your classmates or whatever, and then we can actually catch up and eat for 15 minutes at least, okay? As Samantha just sort of rolls her eyes, seeing Quinn flirt back a little bit and going, yeah, okay. As Maxwell runs off to look in on that situation there before more Sims that aren't supposed to be here show up. We will go ahead and leave Samantha to actually get a little bit of lunch with Max and then get back to school for the day, but definitely stealing a few moments there with her busy college boyfriend now. I did get this build off the gallery. I think it was called Starbucks something. But for our purposes, it's a nondescript, non-specifically labeled corporate coffee chain. I am sorry I didn't write down the actual name of the creator or name of the lot on the gallery, but it's the first one that comes up when you go to 40 by 30 cafe lots in the gallery. Anyways, on a busy afternoon at said, oh no, ignore the logo, said nondescript corporate coffee chain, just a little bit later than our scene that we were just at here, where Rosalee has her little apron on and is at work behind the counter here, just helping out people. Apparently works with Eliza Pancakes. I'm so sorry, Rosalee. Yeah, this job seems like hell. Excuse anyone who walks in who's not supposed to as a customer, but we'll hope that everything stays on track as, oh, looks like her coworker's going on break, so Rosie's all up to Rosie to go ahead and take care of the lunch rush here. But as Rosalee is kind of tending to customers, there is a bit of a familiar face in the crowd that comes on over as Rosalee just sort of raises her eyebrows at at her sister walking in over here, and once things calm down a little bit, stepping aside from the cash register for a minute to go ahead and talk to her sister here, being like, hey, sis, Cypress replying, hey, as Rosie says, what are you doing all the way out here? I thought you liked the artisanal coffee at that hole in the wall near that dump of a home of yours. Cypress just sticking her tongue out at Rosalee, saying, yeah, I do. I'm not over here for your corporate laced coffee. I'm over here for the corporate lined pockets of the customers in this area that greatly benefit me, and for you. As Rosalee just sort of sighs and says, Cypress, I'm on the clock. Cypress just sort of brushing her off as she gestures to her coworker taking care of the crowd for now, of course, Cypress saying, yes, but I'm a busy woman with an urgent matter that I figured I would swing by to tell you about real quick before my next meeting. Rosalee just sort of rolling her eyes, but urging Cypress to continue, as Cypress sort of puts on her business pitch face, saying, so, I know that you're a bit strapped for cash since the bozos in this part of town do not want your impeccable flower arrangements as much as the old money did in your old neck of the woods, and being a fairly new mom, as Rosalee just sort of goes, yes, Cypress continuing, but I have a way to help. Rosie sighing once more and replying, why is everyone trying to give me money? I'm fine, and no offense, Cy, but Cypress going, the money's not from me, don't worry, I simply have a gig for you. A really, really big gig that will pay a crap ton and be an absolute pain to work, but will probably get you enough funds and publicity to quit this dumb gig. As Rosalee seems a little bit more interested now that she knows that her sister is not just trying to like pawn more money off onto her. As Cypress continues, okay, so it took a bit of talking, but ever since my parents did the flawless job catering the Ritter Gala last year, Amanda's been more inclined to trust my input, and so I recommended you to provide flowers for the big Clarke Ritter wedding. Rosalee's face just sort of falling at that, feeling her heartbeat quicken a bit. Cypress not super noticing her reaction, or not necessarily knowing why, but Rosalee definitely feeling a little bit more down than she did a moment ago, as Cypress merely just continues on. We'll make Rosie sad here. Cypress continues on. Yeah, I mean, she bitched about you being a Winston, but I showed her the work that you did for my 21st birthday, and she fell in love. And you know she's extra as hell and wants a huge spectacle, and also has no concept of a budget, so you will make major bank as long as you can put up with Amanda. And Amanda, like, cranked to 11 now that she's a bride and super pregnant. Rosalee starting to kind of protest and say, I don't know. Cypress replying, look, I know she's awful, it will suck, and I know that it's a Clarke event, and Winston, whatever. But I think that it would be a good opportunity to get word for your business out there and at least make some money doing what you love again. Plus, I will be around too if you need someone to put Amanda in her place so you won't get fired. Rosie just sort of fidgeting with her apron a little bit, going, yeah, I still don't know if that's the best idea. Cypress, completely oblivious, of course, just going, just think about it, okay? I gotta go. But here's Amanda's business card. Just shoot her a message if you want to take my advice. Rosalee reluctantly taking the business card as Cypress shoots a peace sign, heading on out for the day. As Rosalee, trying to collect herself since she is still at work, just sort of white-knuckling this business card, dissociating a little bit, just sort of staring down at the business card that is already toting the Amanda Clarke name on it, just shoving it in her apron pocket as she sees more customers come in, deciding to put that out of her mind for now, not worry about it, and just help with more of the customers at work today, at least do, you know, the monotonous task of brewing coffee to try and take her mind off of everything that Cypress just said. Definitely not being in a space to decide whether she wants to actually cater this wedding or do flower arrangements for this wedding or not, as another customer just comes in, you know, and flags Rosalee down since her coworker is busy, just asking for a I'll just, you know, take a large black coffee, please. It's James, as Rosie's just like, oh, yeah, okay, James, $3.50, I'll have that for you shortly. Rosie just turning around to go ahead and deal with, this man's coffee as he steps aside, just sort of, you know, glancing around at the cafe, looking around at the little pamphlets and newspapers, magazines, and such that are at the front stand. We'll pretend there's one there. Here over at the counter, as Rosalee is just finishing up his very simple order of a black coffee and handing it over to the man here. Oh, give me 1 minute. Everyone's needs are bad because I didn't turn them off for this household yet. Apologies. 1 sec. Let's just make sure no one pees themselves or dies of starvation. Okay, we're good. As she's finishing up making James's coffee here and giving it to him, and another customer is flouncing their way through the door over to Rosalee. One Marissa Clarke, who Rosie recognizes immediately, of course, but Marissa doesn't seem to pay much mind to the Winston girl right away, as she finishes up with cleaning out the tool she used for just the black coffee, and finally going over to Marissa and saying, all right, what can I get you? Marissa huffing quite impatiently and saying, ugh, finally. I'll have a medium, no foam, 1 pump toasted, graham flat white, chilled with 2% foam. Rosie just kind of rolling her eyes a little and saying, okay, $5.50, I'll have that for a minute, Marissa. As the blonde woman squints and going, how do you... Oh, as she looks a little bit closer at Rosalee's face and name tag. Rosalee just sort of shaking her head and getting to work on the complicated coffee order over here. This man who just got the black coffee paying a little bit of special attention, just kind of staring at Marissa most of the time as she's walked in. The woman not really paying him any mind, though, until he walks a little bit closer to her and going, Marissa, I thought I recognized you, as she raises a critical eyebrow, saying, excuse me? As the man continues a little bit flirtily, well, at first I stopped in my tracks because it's not every day I run into a woman with such striking beauty, but then I realized it wasn't just that, as Marissa kind of smirks at the compliment, replying, oh, as he sort of gestures over to the magazine rack, where there are plenty of covers of the Business Insider magazine with Marissa's face plastered right along the front of it, as he says, how lucky am I to run into the cover star of the latest Business Insider while out to get coffee. As Marissa sort of chuckles, flattered, noticing the magazines herself, saying, oh, yes, I rarely come to this side of town, but I had a new client to meet, so it's just your luck I happen to be in this particular store today. As James smirks back at her, saying, your insights on risk versus reward were really fascinating. I'd love to pick your brain a little more while you wait for your client. As Marissa gives him sort of the once-over, finding a smile on her face and saying, actually, I just finished with my client, so go ahead and pick away. As Rosalee just hands her her coffee, the two of them going over to a corner booth together to continue their conversation over a bit of coffee, and that's where we will go ahead and leave the coffee shop for today. Let's picture it a little bit brighter in the game because I didn't want to wait for it to get all the way around to morning again. It's like 4 a.m. so it should be getting light soon, but I didn't want to spend any more time trying to wait for the sun to come up, as it is just about like the middle of afternoon, you know, just after lunchtime in our story here, as we are headed over to the Clarke estate for the first time in this episode, as we'll go ahead and head inside here and over through the hallways and into the master bedroom of this household where Rhona Clarke is sitting at her vanity, freshening up for the day. The urn for her late husband, Justin Clarke, sitting right on her little makeup station here, of course, close to her heart. As, yeah, she's just getting ready for the day before going ahead and venturing on out into the rest of the house, as she can hear a little bit of chatter and commotion coming from the other wing of the estate here, heading out to see exactly what is up. We'll have Rhona head into the kitchen as, yes, the tables and counters are lined with different cakes and sweets and such, as Amanda is kind of daintily testing at one, Kassandra and Lorena trying them out as well, but with a little less scrutiny. Rhona sighing and finding a scowl on her face as she heads into the kitchen here, seeing Amanda sitting here with these other two women, as Amanda's making a little bit of a scrunched up face, going, ugh, no, this one's too sweet. My mother will never touch this. Kassandra replying, that's a dupe for the one that you said that wasn't sweet enough last week. As Rhona sort of adjusts her cuffs. Here, let's get her a little bit more in front of them. Rhona adjusts her cuffs, giving a scrutinizing eye towards the other two ladies, and over to Amanda, addressing Amanda, saying, I see both harlots are here this afternoon, as Lorena just kind of snaps and puts her fork down a little bit, saying, for the last time, Rhona, your son is the one who stuck his dick elsewhere first. Rhona, almost cutting her off, immediately clapping back, going, I do not want to hear such vulgar things in my home. You have never held any respect for this family. Getting into a little bit of an argument there as Amanda kind of tries to keep the peace, saying, ladies, please, let's just keep it civil. Grandmother, I told you Lorena was coming over with cake samples. As Rhona turns her attention to Kassandra, saying, I didn't realize she was bringing the mooch around. Ignore the twin butler to the Winstons walking through. Kassandra just raising a challenging eyebrow at the woman, going, problem. As Lorena explains a little more, saying, I needed her help carrying things, and there is a large possibility that if I am around, that Kassandra will be with me. I am very sorry. Trust me, I do not want to be in this house any more than you, but my son is getting married. My son is getting married, and nothing you do or say is going to stop me from being around and being involved. As Rhona is just sort of continuing to scowl at both of them, the little bit of a tiff being a bit interrupted as two other people who are visiting go ahead and come in. I don't know what the butler just like dropped rotting hot dogs in here. That'll kill the fight, I guess. As two other people come in and another voice calls out as Charlie's voice rings out saying, Amanda, I don't know about this. As both her and Mohini enter the room in some very large, poofy, light pink dresses over here. Both of them looking quite dissatisfied in them as Amanda's face kind of lights up. Rhona seeing the other two and rolling her eyes yet again. Rhona replying, oh Lord, all the harlots are here this afternoon. All right. I'm gonna go take a soak after having my blood pressure raised this much, lest I end up having a heart attack like my dear Justin. Amanda, darling, I would like these sinners out of my house by the time I'm done, just sort of glancing at pretty much everyone that is in the kitchen as Amanda kind of glances at the rest of them and calls out, Grandmother, I'm pretty certain that that's not an okay thing to say. Looking at the others where all four of the other queer women are just kind of nodding at Amanda like, yeah, obviously. As Amanda nods and turns back to Rhona saying, but, yes, we will be done by then. Rhona just sort of huffily adjusting her outfit yet again to head into her little private ensuite bathroom. Here, Rhona tossing a stern good back at Amanda as she leaves, as Mohini whispers over to Charlie here for a moment, saying, why does your grandmother constantly bring up how your granddad had a heart attack? Charlie just simply shrugging as Amanda's attention turns back to kind of the group again, going, yay, I did good. That was a good thing, right? That was good to tell her that was a bad thing that she said, as Lorena's just sighs heavily, going, yes, Amanda. As Amanda looks a little bit too pleased with herself for the small gesture she showed there. Charlie going ahead and replying to Amanda, yeah, I wouldn't pat yourself on the back too hard. You're making me wear this still. As Amanda stands up and heads on over to Charlie, starting to kind of fuss with the bow on the dress and going, what? What's wrong with it? Oh my gosh, you guys look so fabulous. As Charlie replies, really? Amanda completely oblivious, just going, oh, what? Charlie kind of looking down at the dress and saying, it's a little much, don't you think? And, like, aren't you supposed to be the center of attention? I feel like eyes are going to be pulled in our direction when we have to turn sideways to make it all the way down the aisle. As Mohini's also kind of analyzing the dress and saying, yeah, aren't you supposed to be the one in white? As Amanda goes, oh, don't worry, my dress will be much more eye-catching still, and they're a subtle blush color, not white. As Charlie's still just sort of fussing with all of the sparkles and tulle and whatnot, and replying, Cypress is not going to wear this. Where is she anyways? Why is she not having to endure this with us? As Amanda is still just sort of fussing and brushes it off, going, oh, I don't know, out running errands or something, she said. I don't like to ask her questions anyway. Anymore, her answers always frighten me. As we have a couple more people joining the conversation as well through the back door this time, as our lovely lads are gonna go ahead and enter the house as 𝕋𝕠𝕐𝕐 is talking along with Christopher here. 𝕋𝕠𝕐𝕐 just saying, we dropped all the 2x4s in the backyard, and oh my god. Both Christopher and 𝕋𝕠𝕐𝕐 trying to hold back a snicker, just stopping themselves coldly as Amanda turns around to glare at both of them. Oh my god. Ignore Charlie trying to flirt with everyone. As both of them just try and stifle a laugh as they see the big marshmallowy dresses that Mohini and Charlie are both donning here, as Charlie is just glaring and shaking her head at her boyfriend, saying, oh, you're sleeping on the spare bed tonight. As Amanda just kind of yells at Christopher, noticing him still trying to kind of suppress a giggle, just yelling his name quite sharply, you know, Christopher. Chris stopping really quick and clearing his throat. Immediately sort of like simmering down and going, oh, sorry, babe, they look nice, you know better than me and stuff like that. Just going over almost mechanically to give his fiancé a kiss on the cheek, as Amanda curtly just replies with, oh god, Sims, hello. So Amanda curtly replies with a correct, kissing him back. As Amanda kind of looks around at everyone's expressions, going, ugh, do we all hate them? As Lorena just simply says, maybe not for bridesmaids dresses, dear. As Charlie's pulling out her phone, looking at it, and replying, yeah, Cypress just texted saying, quote, fuck no. So Amanda, seeing everyone sort of displeased, glances and replying, ugh, fine, I will look for something a little more understated. That'll go better with my rose backdrop anyway, if I get that worked out. Going ahead and taking a seat to resume the cake testing, at least. Both Mohini and Charlie looking a little bit more relieved now that they know they won't have to be wearing these monstrosities for the wedding. And Chris just going ahead and following to 𝕋𝕠𝕐𝕐 a little bit solemnly to continue just bringing in supplies, working on stuff, and doing Amanda's bidding as they prepare for this wedding, sort of forcing a smile onto his face there. So we will go ahead and leave the Clarke estate for tonight, as we are headed back to the Winston Manor. Ooh, there we go, Sims. We're headed back to the Winston Manor for the evening portion. It's a bit later at night now, as the sun is setting, and Amy is getting home from work here, just throwing a little wave at her children. Samantha and Tyler just kind of in the living room here, hanging out, watching TV together, as yeah, Amy just gives them a little wave, heading on into the kitchen where Juliette is cooking yet again, just working out some dinner for the family this time. There's the sound, sorry. Get her to continue. Juliette just making some dinner for the family. Amy looking pretty worn out after a long day of work, setting down her bag and such, just kind of going by and like resting, a comforting hand on Juliette's back, saying, hey mom, thanks so much, sorry my meeting went so late. Juliette just brushing her off, going, oh, nonsense, all I have to do these days is help take care of you all that remain around here, as Amy just sort of smiles at that, appreciating her efforts, asking, have you seen Robert? Juliette going, oh, not in a while. He took up station in the office after lunch and I haven't seen him since. Amy raising an eyebrow at that, going, he hasn't come out of his office since lunch? God damn it. Amy muttering a little bit, frustrated, and stomping off down the hall towards the study of the Winston Manor, where for sure Robert II has been glued to the computer, just sort of working on things, doing some paperwork, you know, nondescript business on his computer there, looking intensely focused as Amy just sort of peeks her head in, and without even a hello, just calling over to Robert. Chadwick, as Robert stops typing for a minute, closing his eyes, going, fuck. Amy just rolling her eyes, beginning to leave, saying, I'll grab my coat again, as Robert II stops her, going, no, it's my fuck up, I've got it, as Amy questions him, have you been drinking, as he frustratedly replies back to her, no. God, why didn't he even text? As Robert heads on out the door hurriedly, Amy following after him, as the child in question, Chadwick, actually runs and bursts on through the door. Oh, we have some visitors I'm gonna need to get rid of, but Chadwick is actually almost running into his father, bursting through the door, as behind him follows not one of their other children who are already home, but behind him following is Catalina Winston here. Both Amy and Robert's brows furrowing the moment they see the older woman enter the home, as Chadwick runs and gives his dad a little hug, kind of none the wiser, not really noticing that there's any tension or anything going on here at the moment. Let me just get him into a hug here really quick, as Robert's just like, "Oh, Chad, how are you here?" Catalina responding for his son as she walks over and says, "Well, I was driving back from a lovely brunch with a friend and saw poor young Chadwick just sitting all by himself at the edge of a soccer field as the sun was going down. Said he didn't know where you were, but don't worry, Aunt Catalina took him out for ice cream and is now dropping him off here." Chad, still none the wiser, just kind of going, "Can we have ice cream before dinner every night, Dad?" As Amy, shares a little bit of a look with Robert before grabbing Chadwick and saying, "Come on, sweetie, your grandmother's finishing up dinner. Let's go help her." As Amy sort of corrals her son into the kitchen here, away from Robert II and Catalina, as Robert lets more of the irritation cross his face as he turns back to Catalina here, who looks far too smug for his liking. Just simply questioning Robert, "What?" As Robert says, "You know you are not allowed around here anymore." Catalina just scoffing and going, "God forbid I help take care of my family, something you're apparently not doing." As Robert's brow furrows even further, going, "Watch your damn mouth, Catalina. Thank you for picking him up, but we would have sorted it out. Why were you driving past his school anyway?" Catalina shrugging and replying, "Scenic route." As Robert says, "It's 40 minutes from where you live." Catalina smiling a little bit, more of a smug look on her face, again going, "Really scenic route." As Robert decides to kind of pull away from any prying ears, let's just get rid of this woman, as he sort of pulls them outside here onto the stoop to continue this conversation, closing the door just to make sure that the kids don't overhear anything, should they, as Jesus Christ. Robert letting a little bit more of his anger enter his voice here as he talks to Catalina. Let me go ahead and get them into an argument, actually. I got past behavior, that works. Robert saying, "I made it clear after your little stunt at the reading of the will that you are not allowed back into this home." Catalina brushing him off once more, going, "Oh, forgive me for being a little upset that my brother only gave me barely 5% of his wealth, especially after being the only one caring enough to take care of him in his final days." Robert replying, "I thought your whole thing was not caring about the rich and luxurious lifestyle." As Catalina goes ahead and replies, "I don't. But it's the principle of things." As Robert just continues on, "Regardless, your little stunt, combined with everything I've learned about the truth to your past, and the fact that you have disregarded a simple boundary I have set multiple times in the past year, have all added up to being absolutely certain I do not want you around my family." Catalina replying, kind of trying to put on the sweet voice a little more, saying, "Robert, come on, we used to have such good talks, though. You really believe everything that your mother has said about me?" As Robert says, "I have no reason not to. And the past year has only made me believe her more. Get off of my property, Catalina." Catalina finally letting more of her irritation enter her own face and tone. Jesus Christ! Oh, that was Robert's ghost, wasn't it? That doesn't exist in canon. As Catalina just furrows her own brow, saying, "Fine, I'll go, but You'll see one day how much you need me, just like how you clearly needed me today, sauntering off, feeling that she sort of feeling that she won that conversation there. Wrong sim. Robert only feeling more irritation swimming through his blood as she finally heads off of the property. Robert is heading back inside now, as Juliette has finished dinner here and is calling everyone to the meal in the dining room here. Hopefully everyone will turn up for that. Yeah, there we go. All the kids going ahead and joining. Hopefully Julia from upstairs as well. She's just kind of been hanging out for today. Okay, as Amy goes ahead and walks over to her. You're not invited to the call to dinner. Oh, nor you, Catalina. Jesus Christ, okay. Let this scene get set up before I continue any dialogue, sorry. Amy heading over to Robert, being able to tell that he's still pretty upset from the conversation with Catalina out there, and noticing that, you know, they're in front of the family, everyone's kind of paying a bit of attention, going ahead and giving a sweet but brief kiss to Robert here, asking, handled? As Robert gives her a bit of a brief kiss back, just nodding, as Juliette questions them, saying, what's handled? As Robert just sits down to grab a plate of food, saying, nothing, Mom, don't worry about it. As everyone just kind of has a nice little family dinner together, general kind of chatter happening, nothing too intense or important. Everyone just kind of, you know, having a family dinner as they've been trying to do more often in the past year, ever since everything happened. Everyone who still lives in the Winston Manor, at least, trying to eat together at least a couple times a week. Juliette, as she said, sort of cooking a lot more often lately. And throughout the dinner, though, Robert II's phone kind of keeps buzzing, and usually, you know, he would kind of try and leave dinner to dinner, but it keeps going off, and he does keep checking it, but a little bit covertly, definitely catching Amy's attention as she sort of glances over at him, but can tell he's very, clearly trying to tilt it away to make sure that no one, including her, can sort of see what texts are coming up, as he does continue to check them and every now and then type back a quick little response throughout the dinner, but not, you know, as he obviously doesn't even want her to notice that it's happening. Amy's not going to say anything for now, seeming that the kids don't really take notice that it's going on either, as everyone sort of finishes up the dinner for the night, just kind of getting ready to head upstairs, head to their bedrooms for the night, you know, saying goodnights and I love yous to each other. We'll just have, like, Samantha head up to her room here, Chadwick head over to the stairs to his, and both Amy and Robert II sort of staying, you know, near each other while the rest of the family's still awake, and both heading into their bedroom together here as they, you know, toss a good night over to Samantha here as she heads into her bedroom across the hall. You know, I love you, hugs, kisses, good nights to the kids, etc. This will get Robert and Amy both into their bedroom here. Both of them kind of keeping some space between them once they are actually in the bedroom here. Both of them just sort of silently getting ready for bed. Can I not change outfit in a closet? Oh my god, okay. Keeping to themselves, both weary for whatever their own reasons are, you know, as, I'll just get them into their pajamas here really quick. Oh, I don't remember if I changed Robert's pajamas, but hopefully they look fine. Amy going ahead and crawling over to the bed here to get under the covers, as instead of joining her on the other side of the bed, Robert starts to head towards the door. Amy's quietly and somewhat somberly calling out to him, you don't have to keep sleeping downstairs, as Robert doesn't turn around before answering, I know, as Amy says back, I can keep staying in the hotel if this is how it's going to be. Robert just saying, only so long the kids will believe you're on a business trip, Aim. As Robert gets a text, yet another text on his phone, pulling it out of his pajama pants pocket and reading it, rolling his eyes, and just saying, "Good night, Amy," as he heads on out of the room, not even waiting for Amy to kind of softly call back. "Good night, Robert." Heading to bed, shooing the butler out of the room and heading to bed, as now that everyone has been settled into their own bedrooms and are falling asleep and the coast is somewhat clear from the family's prying eyes, Robert II heads on down to the study and sort of makeshift guest bedroom, the cot where Catalina once used to stay, which has sort of housed Robert for most of the nights, unbeknownst to the rest of the family, for the past year, kind of making it down here to head to sleep himself on his own. But before he goes to bed, Robert just going ahead and frustratedly pulling out his phone here after all of the texts and calling up whoever has been texting him all night, just saying, "It's late, what?" As a female voice on the other end of the line just answers, "Finally." We'll let them go ahead and get into their conversation there for the night, as it is getting pretty late. We are back in the nighttime now at Rosalee Winston's home here. Daisy, Winston fast asleep in there as Rosie is on the phone with her mom, just kind of chatting about everything that happened today. I'll see if I can get the camera in here. Bandit right by her side, of course, for moral support, as, if I go to tab, behave. Okay, we're good. Rosalee, just sort of chatting through things with her mom, as Aaliyah is sort of giving her the advice that, listen, sweetie, I know it might not be the best gig, but I have to agree with Cypress. Like, I think it's probably a good move for you, and Rosalee's trying to, hold her composure and keep it more of, a professional talk while on the phone with her mom, but definitely trying to keep tears out of her voice, because she knows that, her family is giving good advice here, but it's really hard for her in her heart to be able to say that she should take this job to do the flower arrangements for the wedding between Amanda and the father of her child, Christopher. But as she's sort of looking through the paperwork on her desk here and looking at all these bills and seeing all the charges that she's going to need to fulfill, and then next couple of days looking at her bank account, seeing that, her next check hasn't even come through from the coffee shop yet, knowing that, she's a mother now and she was prepared for this. She needs to make the decisions that are going to be best for her and Daisy's well-being. And so as much as it might not be the easiest decision to do, it's been a year and she can be professional. And so Rosalee clicks on her computer, heads over to her email, and opens up a draft to send a message to Amanda's business address saying that, yes, Rosalee Winston's flower arranging services will provide the flowers for her wedding. And so with that decision there, we will leave Rosalee to finish typing out that email and tend to her daughter. Late at night, as the rain is picking up yet again, we head over to a building that you might recognize if you saw the trailer. But heading on up the stairs into this building here. Oh, God, the camera's gonna be annoying, of course, but heading into this building here, we head on past the kind of office waiting area for now and see a man walking into the office, crumpling up a little cardboard corporate coffee mug and tossing it in the trash, heading over to the computer and clicking on to a new document. We see a face that we briefly saw earlier in the episode as he begins a new document titled Detective's Log with today's date, and typing out the first sentence that making contact myself is already proving to be the right decision. And so with that, we will leave him to write out his detective log, and we will leave it there for the episode tonight. So with the rain crashing down, there you have it. There is our premiere episode of season 2 of Traitorous. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for being here. I hope you're excited. Even though, like I said, kind of a bit of exposition, a very talky episode as we sort of catch up with everyone, see where they are. I guess there's a couple faces missing from this episode, wasn't there? But, we caught up with most people and where they are a year after the events of our first season. And don't worry, now that we sort of have the stage set, we know where everyone's lives are at. We have plenty of drama and plenty of stuff to get into moving forward. So thank you so much for being here for the premiere. I appreciate you so much. I think it went well and Sims behaved, so I'm very happy with that. I think it was a good first episode and I am so excited to get into the rest of it with you guys. So, will we fuck for Marissa for research? Who knows? I guess we'll have to find out. Yeah, thank you. Keep your thoughts coming. If someone could drop a Discord link really quick, if you have any thoughts later as you're processing the episode, feel free to scream about it in our Traitorous discussion channel in the Discord. I would love to hear your thoughts. Usually, a couple of my mods do a little podcast after the episode that I join in on where we sort of talk about the episode, and I don't answer anything but kind of cackle evilly at your guys' theories and stuff. We're not necessarily doing that this season after the episode. We're still talking about things on the back end because my mod Robin, who usually participates in that, her work schedule doesn't allow her to watch the episodes live anymore or be around like afterwards at night. So we're figuring out maybe a time to talk about Traitorous episodes if you guys want to join in for that at some point, but I'll keep you guys updated in the Discord when we might be doing those instead of Friday nights, like right after the episode. But I'm, you know, especially once we get into this a little bit more and there's more going on, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. So yeah, stay in the Discord to keep updated on that as well, and feel free to at least scream in the text chat about this episode and anything. Give me all your memes. That's my favorite part of the seasons, is making stupid jokes about it after I can get out of the like serious tone of doing the actual show. But I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're hooked and ready to see more. I love you all very much. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your support as always, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night and a beautiful rest of your week, and I'll talk to you all later. Nighty night, cuties.